Welcome back. Earlier on, we created the today's posts, answered posts, and unanswered posts pages. And you can see how those are and how fast those are. Pretty fast. Now, I'm thinking we have a look at liking and unliking the posts that are in a thread. So we've got a few posts here. And if we want to like these posts, it would be nice to kind of insert a button to like, and if it's already liked, that will then unlike it and then display the number of likes. This is probably going to take a little bit longer because I've not thought about this, but we have likes already set up in Hasura. We did that back in the first video. So everything's set up, and I'm sure we're good to go. Users can insert. They can insert all of the columns. I can't really set the input for ID. Let's get rid of that. But it will make the user ID the user of the context and then the post, whatever we pass in. So I'm thinking, let's dive into GraphQL and have a look at the available mutations. Let's just call this insert like. We're going to need to pass in a post ID, and this is going to be of type UUID, and then we are going to do insert likes 1, and the object will have a post ID of post ID. Now we don't need to specify the user ID because that is already preset automatically by Hasura in the way we've got those column presets configured. So I'll show you that. And then we'll just return the ID. I don't think we need to return anything else. So if we go to likes and we go to modify, is it modify? Permissions, insert, column presets, user ID is equal to Hasura user ID, which we pass in the JWT with every request. So it knows what the user ID is, so we don't need to pass that. It will configure it automatically. So I think this is the kind of thing we're going to need to do. This is not going to work, but this is the kind of mutation we're going to need, and we'll need to pass in the post ID. And I'm going to guess this is just the same for delete likes by primary key. And then we pass in the ID, and again, that will be ID is, well, it's going to be like ID, isn't it? And then we'll return the ID. Can you return the ID? I don't know. Yeah, we're going to need these two. So let's just take this and open up. Have we got everything pulled? Yes, we do. Let's run next. Dev server, and then inside threads ID, or thread ID, we will create a mutation now for like and unlike. So we've got a mutation for insert post, and we will move these mutations out into their own file at some point, but for now, let's just keep everything contained so it's, it's a bit easier to follow for anyone following the stream, and we'll kind of refactor this in the later video. So we're going to need this mutation. What should we call it? Should we call it insert like? Let's just give it the same name of the mutation, and then we'll insert that there. Then let's also set up the ability to delete like. And then this is delete likes by primary key. And it's no longer post ID, but it is the ID of the like. And that will be that. So that's our mutation set up. I think that's all we're going to need. So we're going to toggle to delete if it's already liked, and if it's not liked, we're going to toggle to like. and that's not confusing. So I'm trying to think what we're going to need. Like we have handle post here. We're probably going to need something like handle like, and that takes in a post ID, and that simply returns. It's going to do two things. It's going to do exactly what insert the post has done up here, and then it's going to mutate. So we will do. Well, we can just await. If we make this an async function, we'll await Hasira dot request insert like, pass in post ID, and then we'll call mutate. Now, like we did with mutate up here, we passed in the current data, and then all of the threads and their thread posts, the current thread and then the post of the thread. Now what we'll have to do, and we'll not do it yet, we'll move on in a bit, but what we'll probably have to do is use the reduce function to reduce our posts, and where the ID matches the post ID, we just increment the count by 1 on the client side, so the feedback is immediate, and then obviously when it fetches and revalidates, that will bring the fresh count down. So that'll kind of make it feel real, and then the data will update. But we'll just call mutate for now, and we'll do the same for handle unlike, and this will be ID. We'll say delete like, and again we'll await that request, and then we will mutate that. So we're going to need to pass this down. This is maybe when I start to reach for a context provider. It's probably when I do start to reach for a context provider, so we can move this into the context provider, and then that knows what the current ID is, and we haven't got the current post, and we haven't got to juggle things around. But let's just persevere, and we'll pass down for now like, handle like, and unlike as handle unlike. So on here, localhost, if we go to a thread, test and answered post, let's go to one that's got more than one post, test and pinned thread. Yeah, we've got a few posts here, and we want to be able to like these. So we're gonna be getting these functions brought down to the PostList component. So let's open that. And obviously we're not passing anything down, so I'm just going to spread everything else that's passed to props. I would like to maybe in the future pass down, if we don't move to a context provider, pass down an actions object, and then we can just pass actions down, and we're not kind of just prop drilling every single thing. That would basically look like this. So it would be handle like and handle unlike, and you wouldn't have those. I don't know if that is if we should do that. Post list. I don't know. What do you think? We could leave it as that. It's not important at this stage. And then we'll do post. We'll have to map over that now. You could be fancy, and you could kind of merge those, but let's just keep things simple, stupid. And we'll pass down, we'll spread in the current post, and now we'll have to give this a key. We'll have to give this a key? I can't remember. Well, it's got a key in the component already. So I'm not sure if that's going to complain. Yeah. Post. If anyone knows a better way to do this, let me know. So it's p.id, and then we'll get rid of that unique key warning. Okay, so we've got actions going down to every single post now. So inside of post, we need the ID still. Obviously we can destructure actions, and this is when I begin to kind of dislike kind of throwing props down and wish it was in kind of a, like back to Redux. When I use Redux, you would put this in the Redux state. You would kind of put the current state of the post in Redux, and then you could call the different actions to do things. So that's why I'm thinking we'll probably move to context provider. But meh, we'll see what happens. So I'm beginning to think we're going to need a component to show these likes. But first of all, let's just check if we're querying for likes. Are we? Not even querying for likes. So now we will need to query likes, get ID, and get user ID, because we'll need to check whether the user ID matches the current user. If it does, we know that person has liked it. Then we'll do likes, aggregate count. That will give us all of the likes for the posts. And then inside of the post component, let's go ahead and now create, maybe as we call it, reactions, because we might in the future add more reactions. So let's just create a component for reactions, and we'll simply just export a new default function, and we'll call this reactions, and then we'll return what we need to. So let's import reactions from reactions, and we'll render that component where? Let's put it below here, reactions, and we'll send in the post ID, which is ID, and then we'll send in actions, which is actions here. So we destructured actions there, and we're passing it on. Like I say, better if it was in the context provider, but I've already got a feeling this stream is going to take a little while, so let's just do one thing at a time. And then what we'll probably do is we will, inside of the reactions component, we want to display a thumbs up and show whether it's been activated or something already. Maybe it's increased the color or something. So I'm going to guess we're going to need a thumbs up icon. So we'll use good old remix icon, and we'll get a SVG for our thumbs up. There we go. See, so we could use this for the default state, and that if you've liked it. I'm not sure if that's clear enough though. We'll figure it out. So we already have a div, don't we? But we'll do div flex, inline flex. Let's say item center. And let's paste this SVG here. We'll get rid of the default width and height, add a class name of fill current. Now we will change the color, and we'll say width is 4, height is 4. And then this reactions, we also need to send down the likes as well, don't we? Post ID, likes, and then I don't know. Do we send likes aggregate down? Trying to think. Do we send down the on the post component? Do we send down whether it's liked or not? Trying to think what the best way to go about this is. Let's just save that and not send likes at the moment. And we'll get somewhere. So we've got a little button icon. We'll make this a button in a second. And when we press that, it needs to insert a like, which is fine. Actions will be, we could spread actions here. It makes it a little bit cleaner. And then in here we can just do handle like, handle unlike. And then we could say, we're going to get the post ID. So we could just say this is, we could do like equals handle like post ID. And then I'm not sure about the unlike, because it's the ID of, it was the ID of the like that we needed to remove, right? Delete likes, it was delete likes by primary key, so passing the post ID doesn't really do anything. Let's get at liking first. Handle like here, button, class name, appearance none. Give it a bit of breathing room, and we'll say the text is purple 500. And on click, we'll run like, the like function. I'll paste that in here. Let's get this number down. Now, I'm trying to think the best way to go about that. Let me just look in Hasira. Can we delete where post ID and user ID match? That would be simpler. Whatever. So we've got a question on how the performance was of React MDE. At the moment, I've not really checked the performance side of it. It's working, it's doing its thing. I am cautious around React Markdown, however, because that's rendered for each post on the page, and that's something I'm a little nervous about. I don't know whether to use another library such as Markdown 8, I think, or one of the other Markdown libraries that kind of transforms it to HTML, and then we can just render that without React doing it on the front end. That might be a bit more performant, but we're going to need to explore that and kind of check that out at some point. This is what I don't like: Markdown source equals message. This is React Markdown, and that's being displayed for every single post on the page. And as we get into double figures and larger messages, no doubt that is going to have some problems. But also, it's just a forum at the end of the day. We have to remember the context here. It might be fine for our use case, so I'm not going to worry too much. Reactions, post ID. So we've got a button, and we need to send down the likes of the likes. I'm trying to think how to do this. So each post has likes aggregate, which is the number we want to show, right? Hope for the best. Yes, we will. We'll hope that it works. And Markdown does just behave. So we got likes aggregate coming for each post. So inside of here, we could just destructure likes aggregate there and pass that on. This is what feels dirty to me. And then we could return likes here. And then we do aggregate count. I mean, this feels nasty. And then inside of here, let's just, outside of the button, we'll just put a span here, and we'll just say text small, text purple 500. I mean, that could be, we could call that count, because we're only ever going to be dealing with count. Then press this button, boom. Post ID, expected a value, post ID. I sent you post ID. Did I not? Thread ID. Handle like, it was named arguments. I'm thinking that's probably named arguments. When I did that, I was probably thinking we'll return something like new count. And then inside of here, when we do our reduce function, we can pass the new count to it. And then we haven't got a kind of filter. I guess it doesn't matter, because that's going to reduce anyway. It's going to be able to get the current likes. So we could just +1 that there. I don't know. We'll come to that. We'll come to that later. So we handle like. We've got the count. Now if I press this button, there we go. Nice. If I press it again, it'll just keep liking this. And I can like these posts. Refresh. See that persists, and it's not just local. There we go. So we've got some likes going on for our posts. Now we do need to unlike these. We do need to unlike them. Or if it's me, it needs to unlike. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm trying to think the best way to do that. Really, it needs to delete. Let's have a look in history. Delete likes. Now, I don't necessarily know the primary key. I don't necessarily know the primary key. At this point, I suppose we could get likes, which is going to get the ID of the like and the user ID. And use that somehow. So passing post ID, we're passing the ID of the post. Yeah, what I want to do is just delete likes by primary key, but we necessarily don't have the primary key. So I could do delete likes where. That's fine. I mean, that is easy. That's not a problem where the post ID is whatever. And the user ID is obviously what we pass in. Is fine. I don't want to do this. I want to delete it by the exact ID that I give it. So reactions likes equals likes. I'm just going to keep this very one-to-one for the moment. So when we do come to refactor, it makes life a lot easier. So we'll say const aggregate count is equal to likes aggregate. So we're recreating that, and that will remain unchanged. That will continue to be as is. But now we've got likes. And can we get liked like? This will be likes find it's going to be like dot user ID equals user ID or user dot ID. Then we'll go ahead and import. We'll import use auth state from context. We'll get auth, and then we'll call we'll get user from the auth state. So that should return us the object in the array of likes that matches it's not bulletproof. You know, in the sense that you could like it one. We kind of need a constraint on the database. I don't know if Hasura supports that, where we can say, you know, you can only have one like with the matching post ID and user ID. I've never seen anything. Constraints. Min price. I don't know if that is what we're looking for. We'll have to investigate that. Essentially, I only want one record to exist where the post ID and user ID equals the same. What data does likes aggregate prop have? It has likes aggregate has a query to aggregate and get a count. So that aggregate count is for posts. For likes on a post. So posts have relationship to likes, and Hasura automatically gives us that relationship, and then those queries on there to count, which is good. Let's just say liked, doesn't like. Liked, doesn't like. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. If I click this, obviously it's got 2 there, so we are going to run into a problem if someone does like something more than once. I'm not sure on the best way to get around that without having constraints at the DB level, and making this really, really complex by saying, checking the array before you post it on. It just seems a bit overkill. So we'll come back to the database constraints. We'll say const unlike is equal to ID, and we'll do handle unlike, and we'll pass ID, and we'll just double check that handle unlike was named arguments. It is, so we'll pass ID down, and then now this liked, that also returns the object. So if I do console.log liked, you'll see it's giving me the object that I like. So I can then use that to send back to Hasura. So this onClick is going to be, if I've liked it, it will be if I've liked it, it will be unlike. Um, that looks horrible. ID is not defined because it's liked.id. That doesn't look nice. Ah. Message not valid. What? Delete like. Yep. Message not a valid GraphQL query. What? Okay. User.id. We broke it. Hmm. Let's just erase our likes table. All the data in here. Okay. Cool, okay. Someone signed up. I hope I've got this. Doesn't feel like it right now. So we click like and we refresh, this is where it's erroring. And it's blatantly obvious why. We don't have a user at that point. Is authenticated. We'll get is authenticated from the auth state. And we'll do if it's authenticated, then do that. Otherwise, it's false. Right? I click that. Nope. Bad request. Message not a valid GraphQL query. I don't know where I'm using message. Delete like. During a mutation. So we like. Nope. Oh, now we've got an error. Tenant limit of 60 exceeded. Must be a Hasura API limit thing. We'll need to handle that. That sucks. That could be SWR. It could be SWR. Oh, now it's just blowing up all over the place. Yes, I think we've reached some API limits of Hasura. Let's have a look. 9 requests, success rate, API limits, configure. Is there a default API limit? So there's some guest requests going on here, which is fine. Well, that sucks. So that is a problem. We're getting rate limited by Hasura by the looks of it. I don't have API limits turned on, so it's in maximum tenant exceeded. So I'm guessing that's like concurrent connections or something. And maybe it's Hasura, not Hasura, SWR is a problem. That's an interesting thing we didn't think of. Let's replace the backend with something else. No, I'm just kidding. Let's figure that out in another video. But for now, let's just try and finish this likes. But I certainly don't get what's going on here. I'm pressing this. It's sending a mutation. What is it sending? Variables ID query. It's only sending delete likes by primary key. So why is it saying not a valid query? So it's like we'll display you like this. Maybe we'll add that in some inside a span, text small, text gray, 500. We'll just put ML2 on there. Click that and it changes to 1. Now that feedback's not immediate, and that's what we'll need to do in the mutate function later. I just don't get what's going on when we click unlike, handle unlike, Hasura request delete like, delete likes by primary key. We're passing in the ID. We're only asking for ID, but it's complaining that's not a valid query. And the message is not a valid GraphQL query. Ah. It's still mutation. No, that's still a query. Mutation, delete likes by primary key. Now I'm wondering if this is a permission error. Likes, permissions, user, delete. Yep, delete by primary key. If that ID matches, it will get that ID. Is it passing along the auth header? Yes, it is. Well, this is annoying. Not a valid GraphQL query. Variables, send an ID. Delete like. That's why. We had a curly brace. We had a curly brace. An extra curly brace. Wow. Let's unlike that. We can like that, or we can unlike that. Now let's have a look at the reactions component. Let's add a bit of breathing room. At the top, we'll just say pattern top 3. And we'll do the same for time ago. Pattern top 3. Just gives it a bit of breathing room. Right, so we can like posts and we can unlike posts, which is cool. Now we want to kind of change the icon here so it looks a bit more like I have liked it. I know it says you like this, but why don't we change this icon to be the filled version? And we'll import SVGs later. We'll install a Babel plugin to render SVGs. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's do that when it comes to the refactoring stage on this component with design and stuff. So if we like it, if it's liked, then we want to return this SVG. Otherwise, we want to return this one. and we'll get rid of that. We'll add this here. Go back. Press that. There we go. That's looking nice. Now, if we click like, it's going to say 1, and that I like this. And if I click it again, it is going to unlike this, which is fine. Now, it is possible to like something more than once because we don't have any constraints on the DB. But I'm happy enough that this is going to work for our use case. Yes, you can abuse this by just sending GraphQL requests yourself. If you want to do that, great. But we can protect against that in the future. Let's just get some MVP functionality going, and then we'll create tickets for those bugs or feature requests later. And let's go back. Test and pin thread. It would be cool to show who likes the post. That would be nice. Liked by such and such. But I don't think we need to do that just yet. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Bro, you keep grinding. Keep it up. Thanks. I wonder if that is my bro. Yeah, I think we're done. I think we are done. So we'll create a thread for testing liked posts. Do you like this post? Click below. And you like this. Sweet. So I think that's it. We've got no console logs left, have we? Nah, that's fine. Git switch feet like unlike posts. We'll just add everything because we are live streaming. And if we head to github/notrab/jamstack forum issues, handle like, this is issue 14. Whoops. Closes 14. Submit. Open that pull request. Oops. We'll let that build, and then let's have a look at the next issue. Handle delete for posts. So as a user, I should be able to delete my own posts on threads. Yes, you should. Squash and merge that. So handle delete, decide on a name, enable email notifications, new post activity, edit profile form, handle editing posts. Yeah, these look cool. We'll do these over the next few days. Let's have a look at handling deleting posts now. Git checkout main, git pull. And We'll install any dependencies. I don't know if there was any. Just replying to a birthday wish there. Okay, git status. We're good to go. Git switch. And we'll call this delete posts. npm run dev. Let's just go back to basics here. We're going to need to do this in posts. Yes, and we are going to tidy this up at some point. I really think we can use a context provider for the actions, but we'll leave it at that for now. So we're probably going to need to check whether or not the user is the author. So on the thread ID page, let's next create a mutation to delete post, and we'll say this is mutation delete post, and we'll pass the ID of the post. And then I'm going to guess, because it's like likes, we're going to do delete posts by primary key. And we'll pass in that ID, and we'll not put that in that extra curly brace that caused us a good 10 minutes of debugging before, because we had an extra curly brace in there that didn't need to be there. So I will remember that one for the future, not to type things that aren't valid. And yes, GraphQL, you were telling me it's an invalid query. I don't know why I didn't check in graphical, just to double check. But yeah, we have the mutation to delete post, and then we'll pass that down as an action, handle delete. And you know, this does make sense for a context provider, when but we'll refactor that in a bit. And we'll do const handle delete, send down the ID, and we will call await hasura dot await hasura dot request, pass in delete post, pass in the variable which is ID, and then we can call mutate. And that mutate, like before, we haven't done it on handle like and unlike yet. We'll need to use a reducer to reduce through. That's what we forgot to do actually. But let's just do delete, get that done first. We'll spread in all the data that exists currently, and then for the thread, we'll pass in all of the current data for the thread, and then for the posts, we'll return data.thread.posts, and then this time we'll use filter, and then we'll filter out the post, any posts that don't match that ID. So we'll say post.id is not equal to ID. We'll filter on that, and we'll get rid of it, and that'll update that. So handle delete, we pass to actions of PostList. PostList takes those props and then just spreads them onto each post, and then the post component that has actions, and that actions is passed down to the reactions component. Now we don't need to handle that there, so maybe we do const handle like, handle unlike, and handle delete here. We'll destructure that from actions, and then where we are sending actions, we'll just send them down like this, right? Handle unlike. I mean, this is disgusting, but we'll refactor this and make this look a bit nicer, because this is already a bit of a bit to maintain. I'd much prefer that was just handled outside, passing down functions that are held elsewhere. It's just absolutely ludicrous. Then inside of the post component, let's just display it here. So we'll do a div, and we'll say this is class name flex and justify between. We'll move that in there, and then we'll create another div inside of here, and we'll place a button that on click will do handle delete. We'll create a function called delete. Call this remove. Deletes obviously deletes a reserved word. We'll call it delete post. And then up here we can do const delete post equals handle delete, and we'll pass in the current ID of the post. And then let's go grab an SVG or delete. Should pick one of these, delete bin. Which one looks nicer? Pick this one. Copy that SVG. Class name is fill current, width 4, height 4. And we'll give this button a little bit of breathing room. We'll say appearance none, padding 1. Then if we go back, we got that there. So flex, justify between. There we go. So we'll add a little bit more room below there. We'll say padding bottom 2 or 3. We've used 3 elsewhere. Maybe we need to just do a little bit more padding there, just to give it a bit more space. So we've got my name, and to the right we have this button to delete. Posts. What's your thoughts on TypeScript? Testing. Click reply. Okay, that's a good bug. That is a good bug. Reactions. Count. Count is undefined, isn't it? This thread ID, when we insert post, insert post 1, insert post 1. So let's do this. Testing. It's going to run that query. Well, when that query returns, it's going to bring us the countdown. And then we can do delete. Cannot read posts of undefined. It is data, isn't it? Post.filter. Data thread. Data thread. Data thread post. Data thread post. It should just work. Cannot read properly posts of undefined. It is defined. Also, that delete button we only want to delete if the current user is authenticated and author.id is equal to user.id. And just like we did with reactions, we'll import the user state and we'll get that here. And then if I go to a thread that someone else has replied to, like KK test and pin thread, I shouldn't be able to see that. He says it's because I've done nothing with that variable. So if I'm an author, then you have every right to show that button. But if you ain't, you can't delete it. Now, obviously, when we introduce roles, we'll be able to conditionally display that button. But for now, I can go in like row here. I can't delete his post. I can't delete mine either. So is author if I'm authenticated, and author.id is equal to user ID. Now it could be very likely that that isn't my post. I'm logged into a duplicate account. Let's go to this one because I know I've replied. Have I? Testing. So it flashed up for a brief second. I think I know why that is. I don't think we are fetching the ID of author when we get thread by ID. So there we go. So I can delete my posts, but if we go back to another thread, testing the pin thread, then I can't delete this post and I can't delete that post because it's not mine. And I can't delete this because I don't think this is my account. Yeah, it's not me. Ah, Jamie. Yeah, that would have, it's the wrong name. So that's not me, obviously. I knew that. And you knew that. So yeah, let's delete that. And we're still getting that the post is undefined error, which I have no idea why. It'll be something obvious like before. So I'm just going to do console.log data.thread. It's threads by primary key. That's why. That is why. It's not thread, it's threads by PK. Now, if we go here and click delete, there we go. It is removing those posts. Ha! There we go. Nice. So I think that's it for deleting posts. We can comment and we can delete, which is cool. So let's add that. So we can delete posts if we are the author. And we'll create a pull request. And we'll see that closes. I am gonna guess it's 14. Can't remember where we're up to. Oh no, 24. Closes 24. And we'll submit that. Then if we head on over to the pull request, we'll wait for this to build and we'll get that merged in, and then we'll check what is now available at jamstackforum.com. Let's have a look what other issues we've got. Decide on a name, well, that's going to be an ongoing thing. Like I say, I'm not 100% that Jamstack forum is the right name. If you have any suggestions, let me know, or reply to the thread on GitHub. Email notifications, that would be an interesting one to subscribe to threads. We don't have anything set up in the database for that. And that would get annoying quite fast, but it could be cool to send email notifications. It could even be cool just to send browser notifications. So squash and merge that. And then that code will be pushed to jamstackforum.com. So let's see how many issues we've got left to do now. We have 7. Sweet. So mark threads as answered, mark threads as locked. That should be relatively straightforward, I think. It's just going to be displaying a button on the page to mark threads locked or unlocked if you're the owner of the thread. There is one other thing with deleting posts, and that is if it's the first post. If it's the first post when you click, maybe it's for the first post when you click delete, it deletes the thread as well. And you should also be able to delete a thread, and that will cascade to delete the post as well. So maybe it's on the first post, it doesn't display the delete icon here, but it just puts it at the top. So then if you are the thread author, you can delete the whole thing. That might be okay. So yeah, let's create an issue for that. Delete thread if author. As a thread owner, I should be able to delete the thread and all posts related to 24. So we'll do this. we'll do this issue as well at some point. But we got quite a few issues in here already that we need to work on. Next, new post activity for users. I want to give that some thought because we're currently not updating last seen when users sign in, or they're kind of clicking around the app. I don't know if Hasura allows us to do that automatically based on database activity. That might be an interesting question to put to them. Basically update this field with the current time if I performed any actions. I'm not sure if that's possible. Edit profile form, that's probably a relatively straightforward option. It's not in the MVP milestone, but we've only got one more left. And I wanted to get to MVP before the 9th, so we're making good progress. Next would just be to enable users to edit posts. And if we go to jamstackforum.com now, happy birthday, Jamie. Happy birthday. Thank you, Michael. I think this is the Hasura tenant issue, isn't it? Yeah, tenant limit exceeded. We need to speak to Hasura or somebody that knows Hasura to see why I'm getting that. I think it's because of SWR. It's got a lot of open connections. I think that's what it'll be. So that's why we're getting that message. Yeah, thanks, Michael. That's weird. Maybe because my context, yeah, that doesn't pull it from the DB. That's what's in context, and context is set in local storage. So that'll be something we need to address when we come to update the profile as well. We'll address that then. But yeah, it's taking good shape. We've got a form to post a question, view today's posts, mark post as answered, and unanswered posts. So sweet. We'll switch back to the main branch. And we pull our merged changes. So cool. I'm going to have a look at Hasura tenant limit exceeded. It looks like I've run this before. So yeah, I'll have a look at this and maybe get an answer to see how we can improve. Okay, cool. So thanks very much for tuning in. I'll probably be back on either later today or tomorrow.